You are watching Weekend Prime with Richard Okenye.
That's correct. Thank you very much for keeping it here at KUTV Kenya's Weekend Live Updates. Let's continue with the broadcast. Today is the World Contraception Day. This is a day commemorated on the September 26th every year with the aim of improving awareness on contraception and enable young people make informed choices on their sexual and reproductive health. Stanley Nyaringita had an interview with Linette Anyango from Ters, Kenya on the contraceptive topic and why more sensitization is needed in the country. Let's have a look.
The contraceptive talk in our African cultures is oftenly deemed a taboo, a topic not many people are willing to have openly. However, with such days as the World Contraception Day on the calendar, awareness of contraception for the young people on the sexual and reproductive health is able to be achieved. With me today is Linette Anyango, the project support for the Hidden Tears Kenya. Good evening to you, Linette Anyango, from wherever you are. Thank you for having this conversation with me today.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, so let's begin with why is this day celebrated?
We celebrate this day for a number of reasons. For one, we remind ourselves of the great milestones we have achieved in terms of contraceptive uptakes, improvements on contraceptives, just the milestones, remind ourselves how far we have come along. And it is also to create awareness and educate the community at large. It is also a means of advocating for issues to do with family planning and reproductive health rights. So it is a very important day, especially for young women, girls, and men as well.
Okay. Well, at it, what are contraceptives for somebody who's probably hearing this term for the first time? What are contraceptives?
Simply put, I would say contraceptive is a ways or means by which someone can prevent or assert some form of control over pregnancy and its related outcomes.
Okay. Are there types of contraceptives maybe?
Sure, there are various types of contraceptives. Some people will classify them into male, female, traditional, modern, hormonal, and non-hormonal, but they are categorized. So contraceptive works through various means. They can either stop the fertilization from occurring, they can stop the implantation from occurring, or they can stop ovulation from occurring. Yeah? So when we look at the more non-hormonal ways, if I can put it that way, we have the condoms that exist both male and female. Then we have the copper IUDs. We also have traditional methods such as the calendar, where you have to count your menstrual cycles. We basically also have diaphragms and cervical caps, which are not really common in Kenya. And I don't think a lot of people know about them, but they do exist. And of course, we cannot forget abstinence, which is the number one sure way of making sure you do not get pregnant. We also have the hormonal methods. So these work by releasing the hormones in your body, the estrogen and progesterone. We have the injectables, we have the pills, and we have the IUDs. There are also permanent methods. We have the tubal ligation for women and vasectomy for men.
In all these types of contraceptives that you have mentioned, is there an age restriction that one should start from this particular age to a certain one?
That is $1 million question. I will probably answer it this way. There is no real age restriction, If somebody is sexually active, then they are encouraged to use contraceptions, okay? But most doctors will want to, it depends on the doctor or on the research you're referencing to, but they will say do not start early enough give your body some time to mature enough, especially when you're a young woman. You should give your body some time to mature enough. So for the hormonal methods, most of them will recommend starting at probably 18. But for the non-hormones, there really is no age restriction. As long as you are an active person, then you can start practicing on using the condoms and all that.
Okay, thank you. This is a question that I'm pretty sure most of the young people who are sexually active right now will probably ask. In all these methods that you have mentioned, which method protects against STIs? Is there a particular one method that you'd say this will really help me protect against STIs?
Well, yes, a sure method of protecting STIs is the condom.
Okay.
And that is actually the most preferred method. It is, let me say, the second most preferred, aside from abstinence, which is the first. Then we have the condoms because it protects you against STI.
Okay. And how effective are these contraceptives? I mean, if you actually interview people out there, they'd probably say one had a particular side effect from to my body. How effective are they?
In terms of effectiveness, there really is no sure bet number that we can say, oh, it is 99.99%, but we do say it is not 100% effective. It depends on how well this woman is going to receive this type of method and how well it is going to be used in the case of condoms or patches or diaphragms where you have to insert them. So there are side effects, and again, this depends on the body of the woman. Though most side effects we record are abnormal bleeding, light bleeding, people skip their menses. Some people say they gain weight, but that one is still under research. So it varies from woman to woman, depending on how well you receive this kind of contraceptive. But what I can say is that there are a lot of concerns, especially with fertility. And it's true that some of these hormonal methods may prolong fertility, but it is something that we know the cause of. So that means we can correct this fertility. So it doesn't make you infertile.
Okay.
It only prolongs your infertility. Yes.
Okay, and I love how you keep on mentioning and referring to women mostly, and that leads me to my next question. Is the birth control and contraception topic mostly limited to women?
I will not say it is limited to women, because nowadays we do encourage partnership kind of education. We would like the women to come with their partners, yes? But the difference or the problem is most men do not show up for these conferences. When they hear that, hey, you're going to be talking about family planning, then they say that is for women. So it is more of a cultural barrier. It is not that they're left out, because if you look at the most rampant and most easily affordable types of contraceptive is the male condom.
Okay.
Okay. So that means that we have them in mind. But the problem comes, how do we assess these men? How can they show up? How can they turn up so that we can educate them together on all these beautiful ways of contraception?
Okay, and the fact that you said condom is the most preferred for men in the birth control, how the access, let's talk about the access of the contraceptives in the country right now. Is it easily accessible to people?
I would say yes, because if you visit most of the public facilities, they do stock the toilets with the condoms. Secondly, if you visit any health facility, they give away condoms for free. And they also perform these minor surgeries on women. If you just walk into a government hospital, they will be able to give you these contraceptives. Also, there are lots of CBOs and NGOs working on sexual and reproductive health, and they also give out these devices. So I will say that yes, currently there are. I will not want to say that there is a shortage of condoms. in this country as we speak currently. But for birth control, on the side of girls and women, that one may be a bit challenging because there are some dispensaries that are not fully stocked with this equipment.
And still on the axis of the contraceptives segment unit, the COVID-19 pandemic must have been a huge toll on the access to contraceptives and family planning in the country, if so to speak. You have worked as a community educator. What do you think has been the what has been the impact of COVID-19, and how have people taken it?
In terms of COVID-19 and contraceptive, I will say that this was more of an information failure, and it was more of a lack of strategy, because it kind of disrupted the natural process of things. Yeah? And we were not really giving out information. Remember, when schools were closed, they were just closed abruptly. I do not think if we were able to organize ourselves and go into those schools and actually inform these children what was going to happen and how they will be able to take care of themselves. So they were just out in the streets, left alone to do whatever they do. Yeah. And so it affected that so much, because most people do not get this knowledge until after they are sexually active. Sadly, that is the state of the matter. So we can see this with the amount of pregnancy. Okay, it has affected our youth very negatively. We have increased pregnancies. We have increased backstreet abortions. So it's not really that the contraceptives were not available. It was just because the strategy that was put in place for the COVID-19 measures disrupted this whole process.
The whole process of education, you mean?
Yes, the whole process of education and uptake of the contraceptives. Because people were also shying away from going to the hospital. They were saying if they go, they can get the COVID over there.
And moving on to my next question, you are the project support for Hidden Tears Kenya. What does this organization do? And what is your role in it, basically?
In a nutshell, we aim to empower and improve the lives of the youth. So we do this by basic mentoring and counseling. We support leadership and innovation. And we also work towards reproductive health, mental health, and peacekeeping. I am a project support. That means that I coordinate for projects, for particular projects within the organization. And we do have various projects. We have projects targeting mental health. We have projects targeting reproductive health. Unfortunately, I cannot talk about them right now, but we will be launching them probably next year. Okay. So you guys can stay in tune, like and follow us, and when we launch these projects, then you'll be the first to know. Okay,
sure, we will. Do you have any support from the government? Now that you're, I believe that you're a non-governmental organization, do you have support from the government?
We have partnerships with the government, because in the health sector, partnership is very important.
Okay.
So yes, the government chips in terms of the partnerships with them, so that we can refer, and they can also help us in terms of the equipment.
You had told me earlier that you, as a project support, you also deal in the community education on contraceptives. You go out to different communities and tell them about this. What does that involve?
Sensitizing the community is a process. So you have to make sure that the area you're going, or the area you're targeting, you will be received well. Remember that contraception is a hot topic in Kenya. Some parents can even chase you away for trying to educate their children. So it is a complex but easy process. We make sure that whenever we want to go, we are accepted. We use the gatekeepers with the local leaders, the chiefs and whatever. And then we mobilize these young people, and then we deliver this teaching. Yeah? Though currently we are trying to relocate to the virtual platform. Actually, the last project we had, it was called Mirami. We did it on a virtual platform. So we usually do this, and we are also very age sensitive. So we make sure that we separate them accordingly, depending on the age group that they belong to, so that at least we give them appropriate and relevant information without so much backlash from the community and the church.
What are the biggest challenges, or what is that one major challenge that, as an educator out there in the community, you have experienced?
I would say it is the backlash from the community. You know, you come in somewhere and the church is literally telling them the opposite of what you want to tell them, you know. And we live in a very religious country. Chances are they're really not going to put so much weight into what you're saying. Yeah. So the cultural backlash, I think that is a very big problem, especially when it comes to religion and when it comes to gender, because you try to get a hold of the men and they're nowhere to be seen. So you end up almost always educating the girls, yeah. And you know, when it comes to sex, it takes two to tango. So I always feel like I've done this job halfway, yeah. So that is a very, very big barrier that I've faced as a health educator. And as a health educator, I've also faced this challenge of having to re-educate people, because there are people out there who are giving out information, but they're giving out incomplete, or they're misrepresenting this information, you know. So you find youths out here, they are half-baked. So you have to go and start afresh. And that is a very big challenge, because if you have youths who have half the information and they're walking around like they know everything, then it becomes a problem to give them the correct information, because they may be acting or making decisions from a point of an awareness, you know. So those are the two big challenges I would say that I have faced as a health educator.
Okay, thank you. As we wrap up, finally, as a health educator, as you call yourself, what are the negative African perceptions on family planning? What do you think should be done? If you right now had the audience of probably the health CS, what should be done? Or what could you have told him?
If I had his attention, I would probably tell him to work on the current strategy concerning family planning, concerning reproductive health in Kenya. We are really in a gray area concerning the regulations and laws of reproductive health in Kenya. Nobody really talks about abortions, you know, it is hushed. Nobody really talks about all this contraception and all that, yeah? So I'll tell him to, it's good, the document that is in place is good, but it could do with some changes. And secondly, I'll also tell him to invest in the community strategy. As it is, I know they're really trying, but the community still lacks a lot of community health officers. And they are the direct pathways to the people of the community. Yeah? In fact, if you look at when COVID started, that was the major issue, because we really didn't have a lot of community health officers. So the approach was, we are going to use force to keep people out of marketplaces and all that, yeah? While we really should have been gathering up these community-based officers and telling them to go and sensitize people out there. So I'll tell them, please work on the community strategy, make sure to employ more community health officers.
Okay, thank you very much for your expertise today. That was Linette Anyango, the project support from Hidden Ters Kenya, and engages in all our social media platforms at KUTV Kenya. What do you think about this? What are your questions and feedback at KUTV Kenya? Thank you for watching.
Right, informed decisions on reproductive health and matters of sex. That is the conversation that Stanley Nyaringita was trying to have there on this day, the 26th of September, the World Contraception Day. We thank you very much, Stanley, of course, for conducting that interview. That brings us to the end of the bulletin tonight. That's how short it was. And on matters of sports, I hear that Arsenal won their game against Tottenham 3-1. And Tottenham were helped, of course, at the 79th minute by Song In matters of the Berlin Marathon, Kenyan Bethel Yegon came in second in a marathon that didn't see anyone break the world record by, that is